kiongozi wa wengi katika jumba la kitaifa, Mheshimiwa Kimani Ichung'wah aje hapa na aendeleze hoja hii ya mustakabali wa wabunge katika jumba la kitaifa. Naomba mkaribishe kwa makofi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Senator Wakoli. Your Excellency President, I'll beg to do a very quick presentation on behalf, with the permission of the Leader of Majority in the Senate, on behalf of both the National Assembly and the Senate, because we are a bicameral parliament, and therefore what you'll be speaking about is the scorecard or the milestones that have been achieved by the Parliament of Kenya and not necessarily the National Assembly. Your Excellency, since commencement of this 13th Parliament, both houses have been very instrumental in actualizing very significant legislative reforms for the socio-economic and political development of our country, also for the implementation of the pillars, the key pillars of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. These legislative interventions, Your Excellency, have also aimed at enhancing inclusion or inclusivity, providing socio-economic opportunities, and resolving the issues of concern to the people of Kenya. And indeed, Your Excellency, one of the speakers this morning did tell us that indeed, under the broad-based government, inclusivity is a reality, when we are told that even, I think it was Governor Simbarati, who said that even under the handshake regime, ODM as a political party never really got anything in that government. But today, under the broad-based government, we have true and actual inclusivity in practice. Members, you will see that part of the key milestones, or part of what we have been able to do as an assembly, and I'll ask you to just go straight to the table in the interest of time, that largely we have been able as a parliament to enact 83 landmark bills that are actually acts of parliament today in the last 4 years. And that is comparatively to 126 bills that were passed in the entire of the 12th parliament. Meaning, when we consider there are 196 other bills, both government bills, private members' bills, and even committee bills that are before the houses, the two houses, we should be able to surpass the performance of the 12th parliament. If you look at the regulations and other statutory instruments that we have considered, in the 13th parliament, we've been able to consider 323 consideration of motions. This is largely in the National Assembly, and for treaties and session papers, we have been able so far, compared to the 12th parliament, 57, we have been able these 4 years to consider 71 treaties and session of papers. Papers that have been considered in the House, again, 7,000 compared to 5,356 in the last parliament. Petitions, we have been able to consider 374 petitions in the last 4 years, as compared to 322 petitions over the last 5 years of the 12th parliament. And lastly, on statements, we have so far considered 1,324 statements, as compared to 707 statements that were processed in the 12th parliament in the National Assembly. Those figures are for the National Assembly. I do not have the figures for the Senate. In the interest of time, we just agreed with the Senator Aaron Cheruiyot that I present these figures so that we are able to save on time. Also, Your Excellency and members, this 13th Parliament, you remember, all of you, that we amended our standing orders both in the Senate and in the National Assembly to allow cabinet secretaries on Wednesdays, mornings and afternoons, to appear before the Houses of Parliament to answer to questions and statements. And many of them have been very keen in attending those sessions and answering issues that are of concern to the people of Kenya. The other thing I want to touch on, Your Excellency, is just prior to the pre-broad-based government, that is 2022-2023, we had enacted a number of legislative pieces. Some of them were very significant and transformational for our country. And as much as these were done before the broad-based government, and Your Excellency, I think is you who mentioned that in the morning in your presentation, that like the Affordable Housing Act, when we consider the Affordable Housing Bill, even our brothers and sisters in the ODM party, many of them were very supportive of this because of the history that they were coming from with the support and the belief that our former Prime Minister had in the agenda for housing. And I remember, Your Excellency, the day we presented the NADCO report to His Excellency, the former Prime Minister, he was very keen to push through the agenda of housing and spoke at length on why we needed to work together to enact some of these pieces of legislation. Your Excellency, the other transformational pieces of legislation other than Affordable Housing Act are the 4 laws that we passed to make sure that SHA, or the Social Health Authority, 4 bills, that is the Social Health Insurance Act of 2023, the Primary Health Care Act, the Digital Health Act, the Facility Improvement Financing Health Act. These were enacted way back in 2023. And as the chair of the Council of Governors indicated earlier this afternoon, many of these acts of Parliament under SHA have indeed been very transformational, especially in ensuring that we are able to take money to the grassroots, like the Facilities Improvement Fund is making sure that dispensaries right in our localities in the counties are getting money from SHA. Other transformative pieces of legislation, Your Excellency, and this is not exhaustive, we are just trying to summarize, is the Sugar Act of 2024 that has completely transformed the sugar sector in our country, allowed us to lease a number of factories and sugar companies, just like we, Honorable John Mbadi mentioned and DP has mentioned it in passing, that the sugar sector or the sugar industry has tremendously transformed over the last 3 or 4 years. The tax, the other bills, Your Excellency, you remember, and you said it very well this morning, that many of these leaders in this room, and especially members of Parliament, both in the Senate, and most of those in the National Assembly, Your Excellency, have had to go through a very rough patch. And part of that rough patch, as members will remember, is in 2024, when we passed the Finance Bill of 2024. That Finance Bill, Your Excellency, as we have always contended, was not as harmful as Kenyans were misled to believe. And indeed, 6 months or a short 5 months after the June 2025 protests, we reenacted the same Finance Bill of 2024, breaking it down into these 4 laws: the Business Laws Amendment Act of 2024, the Tax Procedures Amendment Act of 2024, the Kenya Revenue Amendment Act of 2024, and the Tax Laws Amendment Act of 2024, that carried 97% of all the proposals that were in the Finance Bill, as passed on June 25th, 2024. Your Excellency, that speaks volumes on the need, as we mentioned this morning, on why we need to counter the negativity and the lies and propaganda that are propagated by our colleagues on the other side. Your Excellency, moving on, we have had other key legislative pieces that we have done under the broad-based government, pieces of legislation that in a different environment would have been almost impossible, if not a very Herculean task to be able to do without the bipartisan approach that we have benefited from under the broad-based government. Key among these pieces of legislation, Your Excellency, is the Sovereign Wealth Fund Act of 2026, which you just assented into law last month. And this act is providing long-term fiscal sustainability and intergenerational wealth sharing by creating a sovereign wealth fund, which has a future generations fund component. It has an economic stabilization fund component. And also, Your Excellency, this same fund has the strategic infrastructure investment fund component. The National or the NIF Fund Act or Bill, which is now an Act of Parliament, Your Excellency, is noteworthy that this bill, when passed, created for us the National Infrastructure Fund, which I'm sure CS John Mbadi is now about to recruit the CEO They have already recruited the board, and they're in the process of recruiting the CEO and the secretariat of this fund. And this NIF is helping us in a very big way in the expansion of our commercially viable infrastructure. Key in point, and this morning CS Davis Churchill was telling me that already construction of our new airport, JKA, has commenced, courtesy of the National Infrastructure Fund. And that, Your Excellency, tells you that, as you said this morning, Parliament, the 13th Parliament, has been very instrumental in helping this administration to actualize what we promised the people of Kenya when we campaigned, albeit in different camps, but speaking almost to the same issues. Because when you read the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, you read the ODM manifesto, what was then the Azimio manifesto, there were very many things that were common between us. And that is why, Your Excellency, it became very easy for us to work together. Your Excellency, we have also had other pieces of legislation, like the Privatization Act and reforms around securitization, Your Excellency, that have helped us also to actualize, for instance, the construction of what we have all witnessed as we drove from Nairobi, and those who drove from Western Kenya coming this way, from Nakuru coming to Naivasha, the construction of the Rironi, Naivasha, Mau Summit Highway, which could not have been possible without the legislative interventions that around the Privatization Act and the public-private partnerships framework and the innovative securitization of road levies, now possible with the RMLF Amendments Act, which was enacted again in the National Assembly in this 13th Parliament. Your Excellency, again, as was noted, the securitization of the RMLF under the broad-based government was able to help your administration raise close to 185 billion shillings. And CS Davis Churchill tells me that the first 145 billion shillings is what has enabled almost every corner of this country witness the construction of roads, some which had stalled way back as 10 years ago in 2016. And he tells me the last, I think, 40 billion is about to come in to ensure that no road will stall up to next year, Your Excellency. Therefore, we have done well for this administration in terms of being facilitators of the agenda of this administration. Your Excellency, the other key things that we have done, and I'm just trying to rush, we were able to enact the Air Passenger Service Charge Amendment Act of 2025, and this changed how we manage that levy that is charged on every air ticket that you purchase in this country. And from a small figure of about 10 shillings, or I think $10, we are able to securitize that money, and that is the money that is helping this broad-based administration in the construction of the Bomas International Convention Center. Speaking on securitization, again, Your Excellency, courtesy of securitization of even the sports fund, we have been able in a big way, and somebody spoke this morning about how emotive the governor for Wajir and the chair of the Council of Governors was on Madaraka Day this year, to witness not just the construction of roads, road infrastructure in that county, but for the first time to have a modern stadium in Wajir County and be able to host a national celebration, something the people of North Kenya had never imagined would happen. And we joined all of them, all of us as Kenyans, we joined the people of Wajir and the greater northeastern Kenya because they are part and parcel of this country. The Virtual Assets Service Providers Act of 2025, we are the first African country to enact a comprehensive regulatory framework, specifically regulating the emerging virtual assets ecosystem, safeguarding the system, safeguarding the integrity of Kenya's financial system, and promoting innovation. I'm told my time is up, so I will not bother you with many of these other pieces of legislation because you know them. And I just want to finish with one thing, Your Excellency. That we are here today looking at the milestones that we have been able to achieve, both from the executive and those of us from the legislature, and even from our county governments for the governors and deputy governors who are here. Your Excellency, it is my view that we have been able to achieve so much that we wouldn't have been able to achieve were we not not working together under the broad-based government. And therefore, Your Excellency, the question that is lingering in many of our heads, and I know I will speak for many of us when I stand here and pose the question, how do we move on from here moving forward? We have a year to go into the elections. We have been working in an engagement under the broad-based government where we got ODM to come and work with us. How do we crystallize what we have been able to do in terms of our engagement, our brotherhood, and the strong relations that we have built to be able to get into the next elections and ensure that we safeguard that we win the coming elections. And therefore, my contention, Your Excellency, that we cannot win if we are not working together and actualize this, or rather mature this relationship from the broad-based arrangement or broad-based government into an actual working coalition where we come together, work together as one team, because this team, Your Excellency, is clear it can deliver for the people of Kenya. You have spoken to us to begin a conversation on Vision 2060, or new together as one team, and I want to believe, Your Excellency, there is also a way, and I think you have spoken to that in your earlier engagements, that we can make sure that even as we work as coalitions, and it's only us in this broad-based arrangement who can...
So, Your Excellency, with your permission, first I want to thank the members of Parliament, my colleagues, for taking their time today so that they can listen at this time when we are very busy with politics, and the House is also sitting tomorrow. They were to prepare. So, Your Excellency, they have taken their time and we have listened. And we have heard what the executive have done and what Parliament has achieved in the last 3 years. So now we want to go to plenary so that we can hear the views of the members.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.
Okay, ClickUp. What did I just agree to in that meeting?
Wait, that's done already?
My team works in ClickUp.
Choose from thousands of realistic voices to use in your content. Change the way you record podcasts, voiceovers, and branded content with the #1 AI-powered voice-generating technology. Stop searching for the perfect voice and stop wasting time re-recording take after take. Try 11 Labs for free and start elevating your content today.